Hello, fabulous Friends fans and superstars. Welcome to, well, I don't really know what this is. Is it Synchronicity Web TV? Is it the weekly horoscope? Well, we're going to find out together.
It's your hotel room.
There we go. It's my hotel room at the Canadian Astrology Conference, which has been a crazy amount of fun. But one of the things I love most when I come to events is getting to see my astro friends. And this is someone you know very well on my channel from WISEASS Astrology. Andy, one of my dearest friends. Welcome, Andy. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Hello, how's everyone doing?
Hello.
I usually sound like a very sort of straightforward on my channel, like a sociopath, but here I try to be more phonetic and mumbly and, you know, engaged.
Engaged and mumbly.
Well, no, we were trying to decide what aspects to talk about this
Yes,
week,
we
you know?
were. We were
Right,
trying.
the Moon and Mars are in Libra right now, so there's a lot of indecision as far as which way to, what we need to talk about. We all want to show off our ideas. Oh, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. The Venus is in Leo, but
That is
we
a
have to,
great point.
you know, we have to find that balance.
Mhm.
If you want to entertain right now, you got to find that balance to entertain from both sides. You know,
To consider all these different
right.
perspectives.
If you want to be a star politician right now, you gotta, you know, play
Talk
both
out of both
sides.
sides of your.
Talk out
Okay.
of both sides. You know,
Yeah,
and
as they
stay
say.
hydrated with the Moon, Mars, and Leo, so your throat doesn't get dry.
But okay, but Mars is not in Leo
Not
right
Leo,
now.
Mars is in Libra, but Venus is in Leo. But that adds the star element to it. So if you want to, you know, be a star flip flopper, and
You
show
can
that
do
you
very
can,
well with
you can
that.
do very well. Just make
Yes.
sure you drink water,
Uh-huh.
because Venus is in Leo and it is squaring Jupiter in Taurus. So
Mhm.
when we want to express our ideas very proudly, you know, our throats might get a bit dry if we. So
That's how that is.
all right.
All
We're done.
right.
Oh, we have more to talk about.
We have so much more to talk about. Crazy amounts
We're
to
in
talk about.
Calgary.
We are in Calgary, Alberta. This is very exciting, isn't it?
It's very
It's a
exciting.
party a minute. And
It's party-
lovely. This is Calgary, Alberta in the background in
But
case you
not
didn't know.
really. It's kind of it is Calgary. It's Marlborough. It's not down where the hip cosmopolitan people are, but it's
Yeah, we're
it's
not with the
something, you
hip
know?
cosmopolitan people. That
Right.
just isn't
Because
for
we're
us.
schlubby
We're
astrologers.
nerds.
Yeah.
We're nerds.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's talk about some aspects that are happening right now. Let's do it. Because right now we do have Venus square Jupiter.
Right.
You and I were having conversations about this. How do you understand this aspect? It is a important aspect as part of the larger Venus retrograde season. We're now in shadow, wrapping things up. Third and final aspect. The last one was August 20th.
Right.
Before then, June 11th.
Well, that's good. I like that you're doing that, because when you do both sides, you got to, you know, Venus and Leo. You got to sort of very dramatic, wrapping things up.
I'm good at that. I'm good at the
That's
drama.
very much Venus and
You
Leo.
know me very, yeah, isn't it? That's so
Yeah,
Venus
right.
and Leo.
Especially with the Libra.
Putting on a
energy right
show.
now. Putting on a show, but
Yes.
it's a show with balance. You know?
There you go.
All right.
So how do you understand that aspect
do the
as we're
twist.
dancing?
Like
We're
Toby
doing the-
Checker was a Libra. You do the
Come
twist
on, baby.
He was a Libra.
Let's do the. I don't want to get copyrighted.
Well, he's fine. He's like in his 80s now. He doesn't care. Anybody that's talking about him is probably happy.
Yeah.
And he was from Philadelphia, where I'm from. So
Exciting.
exciting.
But does he have a statue like Rocky?
He has a painting on the wall in South Philly. And if you go to Philadelphia on Broad Street, we met at the 2012 conference in Philadelphia.
Yes,
right?
we did 2013
And
conference in Philadelphia.
2012, 2013,
The same thing, yeah. It was
Anyway.
a long time ago.
You know, we're astrologers, dates don't matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, outside that hotel, they had a whole in Broad Street. They have a whole strip of famous people. So Chubby Checkers, not a lot of famous musicians from Philadelphia. The 70s. Oh, Pink. Everybody likes Pink. Right?
Everybody loves
Roots and
Pink.
stuff, and
Yes.
and the sound of Philadelphia. Gamble and Huff, Todd Rundgren, Joan Jett was from Philadelphia. Anyway, we're getting off track.
Well, we're talking about musicians.
We're talking
because
musicians.
Venus and Leo.
Venus and
so
famous, celebrity musicians.
Venus square Jupiter.
So Venus square Jupiter, it's very important to have a mantra that you're proud of,
Mm.
because wisdom of Jupiter's in Taurus, and it repeats wisdom over and over and over again with the throat. So one thing I think about when I think of this, when I was younger, somebody had some idea to make me watch Sesame Street. It's a horrible show. Have you ever watched it? I don't know. I just
I happen to love Sesame Street to this day. My mom still calls me the Cookie Monster.
really
Yes, because I love cookies even to this
okay.
day.
Well, that's yeah. For so
And he's my
people,
favorite.
well, people with Jupiter in Taurus. I don't know where your Jupiter is because well, I know you, but you don't tell the audience. I don't know why not. But anyway, people with Jupiter in Taurus got to be careful of eating too many cookies over and over again. But that's another. But they had this show Sesame Street, and I usually just listened to the Beatles as a little child, but it's no, you have to watch Sesame Street. Yeah, fine, whatever. It's just a crazy show. And one of the songs they had was this. They had this dude named Bob on the show, and he was singing to this cow. He was trying to build her self-esteem, because it's important to Taurus to have self-esteem. Cows, the bovine. And we are right now. We are in Cowtown. Calgary is Cowtown.
Oh, really?
Yes,
I know
Calgary,
cowboys are here apparently.
but it's called. That's the nickname. It's Cowtown. It's Calgary. And so he was singing this song. He said, it was basically a mantra over and over again. And I can't believe I remember. It was proud, proud, proud to be a cow. I'm proud, proud, proud. And it was a very just strange song. But with Venus and Leo, ruling and squaring in Jupiter and Taurus, and especially when it squares Uranus and Taurus, we just have to sing weird mantras about how we are proud. And especially as it relates to anything bovine. So proud, proud, proud to be a cow in Calgary.
But isn't it more about steers than it is about cows in Calgary?
I don't know. I'm from Philadelphia. We don't have cows there. Just so
We
the
don't
same
know
to
what the
me.
difference is. Yeah.
I just know this Alberta beef, Like we had salmon.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's they go to Caesar's Steakhouse. That's where they have Alberta beef. But we had salmon for dinner today, and I had many portions of salmon at the buffet because the Moon and Mars are in Libra, and I said, hey, this is expensive protein. I want to get my money's worth.
So you find your balance.
You need your balance, but you got to stay hydrated for that too. So be proud, proud, proud to be a cow and have, some self-worth today in your ideas.
And confidence in your ideas.
Calgary,
but maybe you might go overboard. You might go way far.
Now, you would go past Calgary into Calvin Klein territory. You're not a fan of, infamously.
No,
because he didn't make anybody proud, proud, proud.
No.
He just said he was very controlling.
Now, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, and I'm sorry if someone's named Debbie. I hope you're not a downer. But what happened was when I was a little girl, I grew up a big girl. And I remember years ago, as a child, watching an interview of Calvin Klein say that he won't hire anybody over a size 10 because then it'll affect the clothes, and he makes clothes for certain body types and blah, blah, blah. And I remember thinking as a child, what does my size have to do with my creativity? And it really bugged me a lot. And to this day, whenever I look at that Calvin Klein label, I remember him saying that and how I felt watching him. And I just have a very personal thing. But if you like Calvin Klein, have at it.
Well, he would not be welcome in Calgary. He would get a taste of his own medicine, that's for sure.
Why?
Because Calgary's a very accepting, loving place of all people. They don't bring people in who are sort of judging,
Yes.
Judging of and stuff like that.
And there's nothing wrong with being a curvy girl. That's something that I learned as a
and there's nothing wrong with being
Venus square Jupiter.
And there's nothing wrong with being a Scorpio like Calvin Klein. Fine. So,
well, that says it all. But yes, with Venus square Jupiter, there's nothing wrong with being a
well, that's the whole thing. You have to be proud of. But the whole thing is you want to be proud of who you are for you, not because someone else wants you to be. If you want to make changes with your body, that's because your heart is into it. It can't be because that you're trying to
look a certain way
because you feel like you have to be more than, I guess, or be something more than you really are.
Yeah.
That your heart really wants, kind of.
Because you are already more. You are already enough.
Your heart is already full of love.
Yes, and your heart knows that you already are.
Jupiter and Taurus can be a very traditional idealist. And when you have to be stuck in a very traditional ideal, that can be difficult especially when you're trying so hard and your heart really wants to look beautiful. With who you are, but they're trying to force you in a very traditional box. That can be difficult. Yeah, and a limited understanding of beauty when instead it should be about owning your own unique beauty, celebrating your own unique beauty. You have to love yourself. You have to love your beauty first before you try to find where you are in a very fixed sense in the world. As far as, this is where I want to go. You should have an idea where you want to go, and this is where I want to be at. my body and I want to stay there and find that happy place.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to love yourself before you find that happy place, because or else you'll just be seeking some place that is very traditional and very conformist. And it won't really reflect with what you want. It will reflect a very traditional ideal.
Yeah, and it ultimately is not the pathway to peace.
Right.
Just trying to be something traditional or the ideal. Make your changes however you want, but make sure it's for you.
Yeah.
And to really find that place of acceptance. It's interesting how it works, right? You're able to make changes when you first really accept where you are, but then what really needs to change if you accept where you are and who you are as well, right?
Yeah, I think the acceptance will come with Jupiter into it, because it's ruling the Saturn in Pisces and it's ruling the Neptune in Pisces. I mean,
okay, let me just explain to them.
We have
yes,
to slow down.
No, yeah, right, because his mind is so brilliant, goes so fast. When you say ruling, so what that means is a planet is in a certain sign, like Neptune is in Pisces.
And Jupiter and Saturn is in Pisces.
And Saturn is in Pisces. Now, the sign of Pisces, its traditional ruler is Jupiter.
And that's the only one that counts, by the way. So
that's the one that counts. Yes, that's the one that counts, because we have modern ruling planets, but when we look at rulers,
yes.
Yeah, you want to put great emphasis on the traditional rulers. The traditional ruler of Pisces is Jupiter. Right. And so Jupiter is right now ruling Neptune and Sagittarius, because those two planets are in the sign of Pisces.
Right, so Neptune and Jupiter and the Sun of Pisces. So once we're sort of locked into that groove of that happy sort of Zen zone, then we could accept the work that we need to do. But on that note, with the rulers, the Venus square Jupiter is doubly important, because Taurus is the sign ruled by Venus. So when you have an aspect like Venus squaring Jupiter, a hard aspect, and it's also being directly influenced by that, because Jupiter is in Venus's sign, that is a very strong thing.
Yeah, it's very powerful to consider.
So that's why we have to have our hearts full of love. And it's difficult because, as continuing the conversation, ruler, the Sun, Venus is in the sign of the Sun right now, and the Sun is in Virgo. And when we get forward talking about that Sun-Neptune opposition, how much we have to deal, how much we pick away at our self-confidence because we want to accept a fantasy. You know,
so let's talk about that, because Venus is in Leo. The Sun is the ruling planet of Leo, and that means what's happening with the Sun is in some way connected to what's happening with Venus in Leo as well. And so this idea of fantasy and reality, yeah, not only do we have the square of Jupiter and Venus, but we've also got, perfecting on Tuesday, the Sun opposite Neptune. And chances are that's energy we're feeling as we begin the week. And that energy, it's interesting you pointed out the Sun in Virgo, because the Sun in Virgo, yeah, you're going to pick up yourself, right?
Well, you have to deal with things. Virgo has, and people give Virgo a bad name. Virgo has to deal with something. And it's not just an annoying perfectionist. It needs something to handle. It doesn't always have to be perfect, but it's about maintenance. And it's about sorting through things. It's about dealing with life. And when Virgo is able to deal with things in any crisis confidently, that's when the Sun in Virgo is at its best. And when you do that right now, you will show off your own beauty, and Venus and Leo will shine. But sometimes we get stressed out in trying to be too great when we pick away at ourselves, and we will run away to that fantasy aspect with Neptune. And it's okay to accept that fantasy world. We have to know, okay, when we have to be so much, we just have to sometimes we just have to allow ourselves to retreat and fantasize and accept the fantasy, but know there's a difference. And when you have the opposition, you could separate the two. People have conjunctions in their chart where it's one and the same. Sometimes you can't distinguish between especially Neptune, what's fantasy and what's reality. But because we have the opposition right now, you can say, well, this is me right now. This is how I'm dealing with things. And this is the fantasy, and I'm accepting this fantasy. But I recognize that this is not part of where I'm trying to go. It's just a buffer to allow me to temporarily retreat to.
And so allowing ourselves that solace of retreat can be how we navigate this time. However, that doesn't negate the fact that, yeah, there can be a sense of this is what I want, this is the fantasy, but then also what reality is showing you can be
and how to deal with it.
challenging.
And especially with Mercury and Virgo, you know,
Yeah.
it's being aware. Okay, I can deal. And now because Mercury is direct against, like, all right, now I'm aware. Now we can. So everything you were beating yourself up over the past few weeks and picking at and analyzing and worried about, is this right? I just have to be a little bit better. Blah blah blah. Now's the time where you can really, okay, now I'm on the ball. Now I can fine tune things just the way I want, because you've reflected enough. You picked away at yourself enough. You sort of looked at your midsection, your Virgo midsection enough to analyze your abs and stuff like that. Not quite right.
Because
Now you
Virgo is connected to that part of the body. Every sign is connected to a different part of the body. So metaphorically or
No,
literally.
literally.
Yeah.
It's literally.
Literally, you're connected. Well, look, the signs are, yes, literal. Like
No,
literal,
it
you're
is,
looking at your abs.
it is
But it might
metaphorical.
also be metaphorical for some people out there where they're looking at what their gut is telling them, no?
No, it's literal.
Okay.
Virgo, it's literal, and Mercury, it's, you know, that's Virgo's home sign, so it's ruling the sun there. So the whole thing with the whole, you know, the Barbie movies and stuff like that. Oh, Barbie is so perfect. And I did a video of that on my channel about Barbie this
Okay.
past week, where I said a bunch of things that I can't say on your channel.
Oh, good.
So,
Yeah, that's probably for the best.
well,
You've got
in
your own
opinion.
vibe, but I mean, I love when you are on my channel and you bring your vibe to my channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think you're awesome. And so, yeah, we get that opposition, but then on Thursday, we get the trine, Sun trine Pluto.
Yeah.
Yeah, which actually personally is one of my most favorite aspects. I just find that when the Sun trines Pluto, I'm able to really focus on what it is that I want to change or manifest, or it's a harnessing of power through focus. And I just see that as knocking it out of the park. That's how I interpret the Sun trine Pluto. Now, I know you got your own way of looking at that aspect.
Which is I don't, because I don't really care too much about Pluto.
Oh.
It's the most overrated, one of the more overrated things in astrology.
Oh, I don't think it's rated high enough.
I know, everybody loves it. So
everybody loves it.
So I feel
Especially
confident.
in
saying I don't care.
evolutionary astrology, they love Pluto. Pluto is like,
Look, I mean, I have my Mars in Sagittarius. I'm very opinionated, and it's in the 12th. So sometimes I just got to shut up and they go, yeah, sure, make jokes. And I'm not going to rant on your channel about it. I don't want to lose friends. You know.
oh,
And
I will stay your
subscribers.
friend.
Yeah, you'll stay my friend.
Yes.
Like, oh, how could you?
And don't worry, my subs are with me.
Yeah.
And chances are they'll love you anyways.
Well, no, my take is just
Okay.
wait till we know about Pluto for a whole cycle, which is what, like another 100 years, and then we could talk about it then.
Yeah, that's true, because Pluto was discovered in the early part of the 1900s. And so we haven't even collectively, consciously experienced 260 years of Pluto all the way around the zodiac, even though some people like to look at the position of Pluto going back centuries and centuries. There is a system of thought or a way of thinking that states a planet is not nearly as powerful a symbol until we as a collective are conscious of its existence.
Yes, that's a nice way of putting it. Other than I was just going to rant, you know, incoherently about it. So thank you for putting it very nicely.
I'm going to move you here. I'm trying to get tall Andy to stand in front of some of the weird lights that are happening.
Oh, the weird
in
lights. All right,
background.
maybe we should look into the camera now.
You should.
Yeah.
Why not? Look right into the camera with your sultry best. Do it. There we go. Now that is Venus. Is that Venus and Leo, or is that all that Libra energy that you're bringing forward right now?
I have Venus on the MC in Libra, exactly.
Well, there you go.
That's positive.
Everybody loves you.
But
They see your beauty.
I'm really imbalanced, and it's a problem. If you have well, we don't want to lose your viewers, but if you have a planet, it's the final dispositor of everything, and that's difficult because if it's not working right, the rest of your chart will be affected.
Okay, final depositor.
Dispositor, yeah.
Explain it.
Well, I mean, there's a chain of command of planets, and some people, their planets goes around in a perpetual chain. Some people have a planetary chain where one thing is at the top and influences everything. So if the thing at the top, it might be at home in its home sign, which, you know, it's in its home sign, but if it's not working the way it needs to be working, then everything else is a trickle-down thing that is affected.
So where do people start? If you want to start looking at dispositors in your chart, where are you going to start?
Well, it depends.
Do you start with the chart ruler? Do you start with the sun?
So you look at, I mean, you look at the planets. You can look at the sun. If the sun's in Leo, that's Leo's home sign. If it's not in Leo, you can see what rules the sun. But
I'm going to stop you.
You just look at what planets are in its home sign.
Okay.
And if any planets are in their home sign, are they ruling any other planets in other signs? That's pretty much it.
Okay, we're going to stop for a moment because if we start talking about final dispositors,
We're going to lose people.
we're going to lose people. Everybody's going to be like, "What?
I don't
know what they're talking about."
I think people are smarter than you give them credit for.
Yeah, maybe. You're right. But I mean, I have like people of varying levels, right? In terms of who watches the channel. So
Yeah, well,
that's why I'm kind of like, okay. But okay, so final dispositors is a whole thing. It's more of an intermediary technique, don't you think?
really, it's not that hard.
It's not that hard for you because you're really, really smart,
No,
Andy.
it's not that
You
hard.
don't realize
No, it's
it.
not. No, it's not that hard because people don't utilize it. People like have all these weird, crazy techniques that are just junk. And this is very simple. It's not even angles or anything. It's just like, oh, this planet is in this sign, this planet's in this sign, this planet's in this sign. You just sort of go around. You just have to know what signs are home signs for which planets.
Mars and Sag, you got an opinion, but I actually really love that about you.
Yeah.
I know. I'm trying to learn to be more opinionated. I can be a little bit way too, everything is relative. And sometimes that doesn't really work for me, but I'm that way anyways. I don't like that.
Well, I mean, I try to understand things from both sides, and I
Mm.
realize both sides are usually wrong to a certain degree, and you got to find out the truth,
Mm.
That's fine. I have a lot of Libra, and a lot of Libra in my chart. But I'm a Scorpio, so. Anyway, so we're sitting down now.
Do you want to sit down? How do we think? Do you want to sit down or do you want to stand up? What do you want to do?
Maybe we're more stoic, we're more just sort of
And
chill.
meditative and stuff. Okay.
Hey, how's it going? Good morning.
Oh yeah, we can have a chit chat or whatever.
Have some tea.
Sun trine Pluto. Any thoughts at all? I know you said that Pluto's way overrated, but Sun trine Pluto. Thoughts?
No.
Okay.
I mean, where's Saturn is in Pisces, right?
Mm.
And the Sun is in Virgo. I mean, they're opposite signs.
Mhm.
It's still about acceptance either way.
Okay.
I mean, anything in Capricorn is about acceptance right now. So, I mean, you're still doing the Virgo Sun and something in Pisces as an offshoot for that.
Mm.
No, we're not talking about roles, but that's just the way it is. It's about acceptance.
What else? Okay, let's talk about the Sun moves into Libra. Libra season starts at the end of the week, okay? And then we'll wrap up. What do you think?
Maybe, maybe not. Well, you're talking to Sun moving into Libra, it's possibly, perhaps,
Maybe, kind of. Sure, why not?
Why not?
But what about this and that?
Yeah,
Right?
maybe.
The indecisive Libra energy, yeah.
Well, especially with Mars in Libra. Mars in Libra is very indecisive.
Mars is in Libra right now too. Yeah, now the Sun's going to be there.
Well, Mars is a decisive planet in an indecisive sign.
Mm-hmm.
It's a planet of action. So, but you have to understand, you have to assert yourself from both sides. That's where you find that middle ground. We were talking about that coming full moon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so next week there is a full moon. The full moon is on the 29th of the month and it is in Aries. So how about some early thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are there's still going to be a lot of Leo influence because Venus is going to be in Leo and the Sun is in Libra, and they're going to exchange energies back and forth. When you have the Sun in the sign of Venus and Venus in the sign of the Sun, there's still going to be a lot of trying to highlight maybe, maybe not, and make it very, very, very dramatic. And emotionally, you're going to start getting impatient. Hey, let's just bloody do it. But with Mars and Libra still, there's still going to be a lot of indecision. So the more you go back and forth on things, and the more dramatic it becomes, emotionally, you're just going to just go and just do it. So eventually, you're going to hit your breaking point and just sort of screw it.
I'm going for it. That's what that full moon is about. It's like, you know what?
There's going to be a lot of dramatic indecision until emotionally it's just going to be like, all right, enough. Let's just do it. And then wherever it lands,
That makes a lot of sense. A lot of dramatic indecision until we go, that's it. here's action.
Yeah.
Here's something. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's where all of this stuff that's happening right now is ultimately leading us. We get that Libra season beginning at the end of the week. And so we're going to be holding that indecision, as in some way we have been with Mars and Libra already. But then that full moon next week really ends up being that sense of, okay, I've been indecisive for this long. The frustration of indecision building until we say, okay, act.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll be that frustrating. I mean, I don't think it'll be a very harmonious kind of thing. Sometimes it'll be just might be like, all right, we've just done enough of this. We're just sort of dilly-dallying and making a show. We just got to act. I don't think that it'll be, because Leo and Libra, they're signs that kind of work together well via the sextile, which I think Venus and Mars will be making.
Yes, Venus and Mars are moving into a sextile.
And that's going to help that a bit.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be it'll be a nice sort of balance, a nice show that we're going to put on a balance. But emotionally, you know, people on the other side will be like, all right, enough with the BS, enough with the show. Let's do it, you know. So that's where you're going to need a strong director. So if you're making any kind of arty movie and a production where it's all about choreography and balance and you know, showing things off, you're going to need a director. And so it's like, okay, we got it. Let's go. Let's do it. You know?
You're going to need a director. What do you mean?
Because the moon in Aries is going to have to take charge and do something with that.
Ah, okay. So the moon in Aries ends up being our director.
Yeah, because we're just going to do things back and forth, and back and forth. And eventually you're going to need someone who's going to have to care enough to say, that's it. Let's go. Let's do it. This is it. You know, let's stop trying to decide, you know, somebody's going to have the vision, that Aries vision, to corral that balance. If it starts flowing back and forth very, very dramatically, and the brain starts getting kind of seasick.
So what, somebody outside of us, or somebody meaning some part of us?
You know, it all depends on people's charts. Sometimes it could be parts of ourselves. Sometimes it could be another person. But there'll have to be some entity, whether it's within you or without you, as the Beatles say.
As the Beatles say. Now, you are full of Beatles wisdom. I know that about you.
Yeah.
He does love the Beatles. And if you watch WISEASS Astrology here on YouTube, and I will link to that below, you know that Andy plays music at the end of every video.
Oh, yeah.
And it's often Beatles music, isn't it?
No, I play my own music.
Oh, it's your original music.
Yeah.
So it's just to me that I get the Beatles quotes.
No, I tell the Beatles story. I tell stories about the Beatles on Astrology.
Okay.
And then I end with like some like a 25-second thing. Generic thing I write. Yeah.
So there it is. Check out Andy on WISEASS Astrology. Get lots of wise quotes with that unique characteristic that you bring.
It's John Lennon's birthday.
The wisdom that you bring. Sorry?
John Lennon's birthday is October 9th.
Oh, okay.
Happy
birthday to the soul of John Lennon.
Coming up in a few
Coming up, yeah.
And with the Libra.
With the Libra.
Yeah, with the Libra full moon.
That's exciting.
So he was an Aries rising, but
it's an Aries full moon. It's a Libra new moon that's going to be happening. It's something or another. Okay. I love you so much, Andy. And I love all you guys out there. Well, thank you so much.
Look into the camera. Yes, thank you very much.
Look right into the camera. Hopefully. Should we stand up now again? Stand up. Let's go forward.
Oh, did my microphone fall off?
Oh, this very special mic that I got.
Yeah.
So
that's a very Pisces thing right now. You got to be careful over tripping on things. With the sun in Virgo opposite Neptune in Pisces, like slipping on.
Oh, wow. That's some wisdom we can really use.
We get kind of confident handling things, and then we just sort of like slip up. You know, you just have to sort of allow yourself to have good footing and not sort of like try to get too full of yourself when you're sort of in your zone. You know?
Well, we are, as I said, at the Canadian Astrology Conference. It's a ridiculous amount of fun. And now let's go have some fun.
Yeah.
If they're still around. If anybody is still up for the party, it's after midnight.
If those losers already went to bed.
We'll see. Yeah. We will be part of getting the party
Well, if they're not,
started.
then we'll be the only cool
people who might be asleep.
Well, we'll be the only cool people left.
There we go. We'll figure it out.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.